My name is Bernice Weiner. Today is June 25th, 1997. I am here to interview Jack Krinick, who is a survivor of the Nazi Holocaust. I am doing this under the auspices of the Holocaust Documentation and Education Center, Incorporated. The purpose of this interview is to add to the oral history of the Holocaust so that as a living memorial, future generations will know what happened. With this knowledge, we hope to prevent any such occurrence in the future. Jack, I'd like to thank you for coming and allowing us the privilege of interviewing you today. First, let us begin with, where were you born?
I was born in a shtetl called Krinick.
Could you spell that for me, please?
Sernick, Krinick.
And in what country was that located?
Poland.
What is your full name?
Jack Krinick. It used to be Kriniuk. K-R-I-N-U-K-I-K.
And now you spell it?
Krinick. K-R-I-N-I-C-K.
And in what year were you born?
I was born in March 10, 1928.
Now let us begin about talking about the pre-war years. Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Krinick. It's a small town, about 30 miles from Pinsk, which was a big town.
About how large was the population of your town?
We had 1,200 Jewish people living in town.
And how many? What was the total population?
Total population, I don't remember. I would take a guess, maybe 4,000 or 5,000.
And what was the major industry in the town?
We didn't have, I suppose, say, a major industry. We were, most of the Jewish people were carpenters, tailors, construction people who built homes, and the Ukrainian people were mostly farmers. Yes.
Did you go, how long did you attend school?
I attended 7 years school.
And was it a public school or was it a private school?
It was a public school. In the afternoon, we used to go to a cheder, a Hebrew school, and we learned Hebrew.
As you were growing up, did you ever sense any anti-Semitism in the town?
Oh yeah, anti-Semitism was part of our life. You could feel it and see it all over.
Can you describe any incidents in which you were either the victim of some anti-Semitic moves or where you witnessed?
We're talking before the war.
Before the war, when you were a youngster?
Yes. What we felt mostly is when we used to come to school, to public school, and calling us the Jewish Jid and all the other stuff, beating us up a lot of times. And we always felt, like we said, second-class citizens in school, even from the Polish teachers and everybody.
In what way did they make you feel like second-class citizens?
A lot of times, if you ask them a question, sometimes they would, Jid, sit down, we'll call on you, things like this. We felt it.
And you or any other members of your family ever receive these anti-Semitic gestures from your fellow students or your fellow playmates?
Yes.
Describe the incidents to me that occurred.
Like I went to school once. When I went to school, there were 3 brothers there, and these were the bullies from the class. And one day I came to school and they met me like a half a block before, and they beat me up. And calling Jid and all the other anti-Semitic slogans. And good thing that I had my older cousin was there, and he spotted it, and he came over there, and he had a chain from a door, and he started beating them up. He was strong, and he told them, if you're going to touch Jack, once more, I'll kill you. And since then, they really, if they felt that you are powerful and you could fight back, they stayed away from you. But all in all, the people, the Ukrainian people and the Jewish people lived in peace. At certain times you felt assembly, especially Christmas night, when you come, that's the Jewish people kill God, Jesus Christ. And this week, almost the whole week, we had to keep our windows and the shutters in the Lordens, it's called, there's closed everything because they used to attack and hurt you, and in one instant they killed one person.
Was this someone in the town that you knew?
Oh yeah.
What was the what happened that he was killed? Was he beaten up by the people, or?
The people arrested, there are two guys who killed him. Killed him because they said to him, "You killed our God."
Now let us talk about your family.
Mm-hmm.
What was your father's name?
My father's name was Moshe Aaron.
And your mother?
Rivke.
And what was her maiden name?
Her maiden name was Dubrovsky.
And how many children were there in your immediate family?
I had 4 sisters, myself 5 children.
And what were their names?
Sore was the oldest, Chaye Henye, second one, and Michle and Malke.
And where were you in the...
I was in the middle.
You were the middle child.
Yeah.
Do you remember, can you describe to me in the years before the war what it was like growing up in your town other than the anti-Semitism? Were there groups that you belonged to, activities that you and your brothers and sisters belonged to?
Yes, it was a very Zionistic town. We had all kind, like Beitar, and we had to the left and the right organization. Most of the kids belonged to these organizations, and this was the center of like meeting, entertainment. Saturday, special Saturday, we spent most of the day singing, dancing, and enjoying ourselves in these organizations.
Tell me, what business was your father in? What did he do to earn a living?
My father was involved in a lot of different things. First, we had a wholesale grocery and a retail grocery. And my father has a transportation company on river, which brought all the groceries to our town. And he had an interest in a plywood factory.
If you were to give me a general description of your life prior to the war, how would you describe it to me?
I would say it was a happy life. We enjoyed. The town was like 1,200 Jewish people. Everybody knew each other. We went to shul, and it was close family. Like everybody knew each other, and there was a feeling for each other. You could feel that even a stranger not related to you was nice to you. That's the way of life. Everybody was religious. The whole town was religious. There was no other life. You had to be religious, and that's it. But we really, especially family life, was unbelievable, My mother, Allah Shalom, had 2 brothers and 2 sisters in the town. I used to come a holiday. We used to, our house was the first Jewish house as you enter the town. The shul was on the other side of the town. And we used to come on holiday. We used to go to shul. On the way back, we used to stop off by each uncle and aunt. And during Kiddush, and used to come and keep on going to our house. And by the end, until we came to our house, the whole family was there. And it was a beautiful evening. Everybody's cooking, baking, and the Shabbos over, and the tea and this, and the kids stayed in the house. The parents went home, the kids slept over by us. We did not know that we are cousins, sisters and brothers.
Did most of the Jewish families live in one area of the town?
Pretty close, yeah, pretty close, yeah.
As you grew up and there were changes occurring in Germany, when did you first become aware of what was going on in Germany?
Oh, we had in Poland, I don't know what year, I would say maybe in 36, 37, came a general called Rich Smigly. And he was German already. And we felt already that's, you know, all the laws were tied up against the Jewish people. You're not allowed to have kosher meat, you're not allowed to slaughter a cow. They used to put on a lot of different things. And we felt already things are getting bad.
Do you remember any discussions that took place in your home in terms of what was happening in Germany and how it might affect you?
We didn't know, I don't remember exactly about what's going on in Germany. We heard things, but nobody believed it. Nobody believed it. And in 1939, the Soviet split Poland between half and half. We stayed in the part of the Soviet side. So, but there was not a clear thing what's going on in Germany to us.
Do you remember any discussions that took place in your home in terms of what you were hearing was going on?
There were discussions, but nobody wanted to believe in it. Nobody.
So you never thought of it in terms of yourself?
No, never. Because even when the Germans came into us and they were killing in the next town, like 50 miles from us. I said, it's impossible. It's not true. Why would they kill us? For what? We're not criminals. We loving people. We obey the law. We work hard for a living. Why would they do this? I mean, you couldn't. Your mind couldn't understand this.
Now, were you living in the area of Poland which was occupied?
Yes.
When did the occupation of your country take place and by whom?
In 1939, as I said before, they split Poland. We stayed, it's in 39, under the Soviet Union. All the things that my father had was confiscated. And we have to stay in line in our own grocery to buy a pound of sugar or salt or whatever it is there. But my father remained as the manager of all the businesses he had.
Do you remember the day your town was occupied, first occupied?
No.
What were the laws and regulations set down by the Russians when they came in?
Oh, when the Russians came in there, if you were a businessman, they confiscated your business right away. If they spoke to the people in town, if you were not nice to the people, they sent you to Siberia. But my father employed 40 people, and I remember I was at a meeting, and they had a meeting when Russian men came over, and everybody spoke very nice of my father. So that's why they made him to manage the business.
So they allowed your father to remain. What did they do with the other men who had their own businesses?
They confiscated everything, but a lot of them they sent to Siberia.
Were you ever during this time offered Russian citizenship?
I didn't understand the question.
Were you during this occupation?
Yes.
Did the Russians ever offer you as Poles a Russian citizenship?
No, I think, I'm not sure on it. I think when the Russian takes you over, automatically you become a Russian citizen. I think so. I'm not sure on it, you know.
What was life like on a daily basis under Russian rule?
They were nice to us. I mean, they had their own rules, and you had to obey by them. It was a poor life. I mean, everything was short, and it was very hard to make a living. But they were nice. The Russians, very nice. I remember the man who, my older sister was an accountant, and she worked in the store. And they were very nice to us, even when 2 years later, when the Germans attacked Russia again, they offered us we should go with them. They came over, they said, don't stay here. The Russian, they start telling us what the germans are doing already. When the Russian came into us, we already knew what's going on, because they were telling us everything was going on. They're killing the Jewish people and all these, and they build a concentration camp. Those, they come with us.
During the Russian occupation, did many people try to leave your town?
If they left, they went to Russia. They settled in Russia.
Were there many refugees coming into your
Yes,
area from
yes,
other?
Yes, every
Where
day.
were they coming from?
From the other part of Poland, which the Germans took it over.
And what were they telling you when
Or they
came?
were telling us all the things that the Germans are killing the Jewish people, and they're building concentration camps, and we knew already what's going on then.
How did your town incorporate all these people when they came in? How did you take care of them?
Whoever wanted to stay in our town, but they didn't want to stay there, they wanted to go further, deeper into Russia. But most of them we had sent us, we took them in, and there was shared the food, they made sure clothes, whatever we shared. But not a lot of them stayed there. They stayed a couple of days and then kept on going, because they know the Germans were going to attack this, and they wanted to go deep into Russia.
During the Russian occupation, were the Jewish children allowed to continue in school?
Yes, they had Russian schools. Yeah, they treated the Jewish people just the same as anybody else.
So that there was no restriction on you going to the synagogue?
No.
And there was, other than the rationing of food, or what about medical care? Did you have access to good medical care if you became ill?
Medical care then, in these years, we had one doctor in town, which was away, far away. But they brought in another doctor. They were much better than the Polish government, to the not only Jewish people, to everybody.
Now, how long did the Russians remain in control of your area?
2 years, till 1941.
What happened in 1941?
1941, we heard that the Germans are coming closer to us, and the Russians retreated, and we were like for maybe 2-3 weeks, no government. The Ukrainian people took over the government.
What was the government, and what time of year in 1941 was this? Do you remember the month?
This was around the Jewish holidays.
So it was in the fall.
Yes, it was in the fall.
Now, the Ukrainians came in and took over, you say, from the Russians?
No, the Ukrainians, the people who lived in town,
Right.
our own people, all Ukrainians. Whenever if you heard about pogroming, wherever there was no government or something, they made their own law, and they start right away killing people whenever right away took it over, before the Germans even came in. And then, like 3-4 weeks later, they told us, we saw the Germans coming in on horses.
Now, were the Russian troops still in the area
No,
when the Germans...
Russian already.
The Russians had retreated how many weeks before the Germans came in?
About 3-4 weeks.
Did they tell you why they were leaving the area?
Yeah, they told
What
us.
did they tell you?
They
Do you
tell us that
remember?
the Germans are coming closer to them, there's fighting, they're taking over the territories, and we'll go back to Russia and we'll fight them.
Now, during that 3-week period when the Ukrainians were in control,
Right.
describe to me the changes that took place.
It was a horror. They already started, to killing Jewish people. They looted everything, took away from Jewish stores and everything, and then took everything away. It was terrible for the couple of weeks, and we thought it was rough life.
How did they treat you? Were there any acts of punishment or cruelty?
They had, and this existed through when the Germans came in. they approved them. They made up a police department from the Ukraine. And every night they used to take in Jewish people and beat them up. Some of them were killed, some died. Myself, my father, they took us one night. They brought us into the police department without any reason or asking. They punched us, beat us. We were like half dead, and they threw us out in the street. But my mother and the 4 sisters were waiting outside. And they,
Can we back up a little? You say they came for you one night. Were you at home when they came for you?
we were at home, yes.
Describe to me what happened, please.
They don't even knock. They break the door, they walk in, and they pulled us out without any saying. They pulled us out and brought us to the police department.
What types of things were they asking you
They don't
when
ask
they
you
took
no
you?
questions, nothing. Just yelling Jew and things like this, you know.
Do you have any idea why the 2 of you were singled out to be taken?
Not only 2 of us, but they were taking each night a group of Jewish people and bring them. When we came over there was not only us, there was a lot of people, Jewish people there, and they were just, it to them was like a game to beat up, you know, to hurt the Jewish people.
How badly beaten were you and your father?
Oh, we couldn't walk anymore, you know, we couldn't walk. They threw us out in the street, and my sisters and my mother, the Jewish people always said a word, said, Baruch Hashem, you're still alive. And they took us home. We were for maybe a whole week we couldn't move.
What did they use to beat you with?
Well, they had sticks and everything, and rifles, punching with rifles, and all kicking with the leg. They put you on the floor, they stepped on you, all. They had no feeling for human life, nothing. They're like animals.
And did this happen to many of the Jewish people in the town at that time?
Yeah, most of the Jewish men were hurt.
This went on for 3 weeks. During this 3-week period, were you able to get food?
Yeah, but somehow many, you know, it was farms. We managed to get from farmers. The Ukraine people, some of them are very nice. They helped us with food and everything. And food, if we're talking about food, if you had potatoes, you were all right.
Now, this lasted for 3 weeks. What was the date that the Germans entered your town?
Oh, I don't remember the date.
Do you remember the time?
I remember when they entered the town on horses, and they started, only the town was nothing to fight. There was no army, no nothing. They just entered it, and they started rounding up Jewish people, men.
And this is what year?
In 41.
And this was probably in the late fall, because you said that the Ukrainians took over in the fall.
In late fall, yeah.
Tell me describe to me, please, the day the Germans entered your town.
We saw the cavalry, like horses coming with soldiers, and they came in. The moment we saw this, everybody started hiding, running away from the house. And the moment they came into town, they started walking in the house and pulling out all the men, and line them up and just bring them, and they brought them on the market from town where the market is. And they round up about 300 people, 300 men, and they killed.
And were you and your father?
I ran away with my father.
Where did you run to?
We were not far from a forest. Mm-hmm. So we ran away to the forest.
Now, did your mother and sisters come with you?
And mother, sister, we were all running away. Yeah, but then they said that they're only taking men, so the mothers and sisters went back home, and we stayed a couple of days in the forest. Now,
when you first ran to the forest, did you take anything with you when you left?
No, we just too close, that's all. No food, no nothing, just run away.
And you hid in the forest for how long?
We stayed there like maybe a week.
How did you manage to get food while you were there?
Oh, you eat, or, you know, my sisters knew where we were, so they used to bring us something there. But later on, you know, you find in the forest whatever it is, you find and you eat.
Now, your sisters knew where you were. Describe to me, did they come to you during the night to bring you whatever you needed?
When it's dark, at night they came to bring us some food. And they were not watched at this time, you know. This was just like the Germans coming in. And then when they came in and they killed the 300 people, they established a Ukraine government. A mayor of the city and the police department, whoever, the same policemen continued. And they went and just left the town and went away.
Now, this first time that you ran into the forest, were there many other men from the town
Yes,
in the forest
yeah,
with
yeah,
you?
Yes.
Were you all together?
You know, we couldn't stay in one place. We were, you know, just hiding. We should not be noticed.
But you were all aware that the
Yes,
others were
yes,
there.
yeah.
How long did you and your father stay in the forest this time?
We came out, after a week we came out. And we returned back to the town.
And what had happened in the town during that week? What changes had taken place?
They just, everything was taken over by crime people. They looted everything from the homes. They took away everything, clothes and everything. And the Germans left. And then I think about a month or so, the Germans came back. It's just like a representation, and they formed the ghetto.
Now, during that month,
Yes.
what was life like for you under the Ukrainians?
We were scared, hiding, make sure that we don't go in any of the police way, because even you didn't do anything, they would take out the gun and shoot you and things like this. Yeah.
When you returned home, had you found that the Ukrainians had looted anything from your
Yeah,
home?
they took away most of the things and everything.
Had they,
Clothes and everything. They took everything away.
had they in any way hurt your mother or sisters?
Later on, it's
During that period of time, during that month?
no, they didn't hurt them. No.
During
If we say Ukrainian people, just to make it clear, not all the Ukrainian people, only the one, you know, maybe 50, 100 Ukrainians. All the other Ukrainian people were nice to us.
So these were the Ukrainians who were, in a sense, working for the German
Germans, yeah.
government at
Right,
that time.
right.
About a month passed, you said, prior to the Germans re-entering your town.
Yes.
And what happened the day that they re-entered your town? Do you remember?
It just came in a delegation, maybe 10, 15 Germans, and they didn't bother with the Jewish people. They told just the Ukrainian people they're going to form a ghetto, and they marked off 3, 4 streets, and all the Jewish people had to move from the whole town in this area.
Now, was this where your house was
Yes,
anyway?
we weren't part of the ghetto.
During this period of time, did you and your family have any discussions about what they might intend to do now that you were going to be ghettoized?
Yes, we were. My uncle lived across the street from us, and he had 3 sons. They were older than me, 2 older, 1 younger. And he came to talk to my father. My father was part of the Jewish Kehillah, you know, we had a Jewish Kehillah in the town which was running the whole town. He came to him and he said, Rameshan, things don't look good. We have to arm ourselves and see if we could run away to the forest and defend ourselves. You know, my father, Allah Shalom, never had a gun in his hand. And he said, you don't have to do this and that. You're Jewish people, you're not supposed to carry guns and this, like this. But they were talking about it all along. And try the best to survive somehow. This is already the ghetto came in. You know.
So what did you and your family decide to do?
We wanted to run away in forest and hide, but we stayed. We said, no, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And we just waited. And the Ukrainian people told us that the Germans will come and they'll liquidate the whole town. And they said already to us where they made graves and everything, they dug graves and everything. And we still didn't believe it. It's really, it's hard to understand what I say, but we couldn't believe it. It's a thing like this happening. But one night at night we saw lights from automobiles, trucks, things like this, and we knew this is the end. So we there are, like I said, our house was the first one. We had maybe 50 or 100 people, Jewish people came to us. And we were sleeping there and figured, we knew the Germans are coming. And figured if we see them coming, we'll run away. So we saw the lights coming and we all ran away.
Now you say there were about 50 or 100 people that were in your home.
Yes.
The area had been made a ghetto already.
Right.
How many people, how many streets were included in this ghetto area?
It was like 4 streets.
And how many people would you say were living in this once it was
1,200.
ghettoized? How long did you live this way before the Germans came in?
No, before the Germans came in, there was no ghetto.
All right, after this group of Germans, this delegation came
yes.
in, how long did you remain in this ghettoized area?
About 6 months.
During that time, describe your life to me in the ghetto.
The life was, it was punishment every day from the Ukraine police. Every day they killed somebody. They came in one night in our house. And they raped my sisters and they made me watch it. And I turned away. They beat me up. It was things undescribable what they did, the Jewish people. If you didn't do what they said, they killed you right away.
How many people were living in your house before that last day when they all came to you?
We had, in the ghetto, I mean, maybe 30 people.
Were these all people that you had known
For
before?
sure. We knew the whole town.
How did you manage to live together
It was,
for those 6
you know,
months?
everybody, whatever you could get food from farmers and things like we used to go out to farmers. This ghetto was not enclosed with a gate. This was open like an open ghetto. So we'd sneak out, go to farmers and work for them and get some food and bring it home. The food, and we used to share it.
Was anybody that was living in this ghettoized area able to go to work during that 6 months?
The Ukrainian people used to take the Jewish people to work in town and things like this, on farms. They used to give you jobs like this, and used to get some food for it.
What about schooling? Were the children...
No, there was no school.
Was there any schooling going on privately within the homes where parents were conducting classes
We
for
used
the
to
children?
read teachers, you know, sit down in each house. One who is better educated in Hebrew, older people used to teach a little bit. My uncle used to sit with us on the floor and teach us Russian language and Hebrew and things like this. We used to learn a little bit.
How did you keep yourself and the children occupied during the day?
During the day, we tried to go out and you know, we had a farmer which we used to be friends. He used to take us to the farm, make us work. I was learning carpentry, so I used to work for a guy, farmers making some carpentry do. We used to try to do something to survive.
And how did the children occupy themselves during the day?
The same way, you know, we had a little farm. We used to work in a farm and plant things and things like this, garden farm. So we got food from the garden, potatoes, tomatoes, cucumbers, things like this.
Were the other people that were in the ghetto, other than the ones living in your house, did they have accessibility to food too?
Yeah, the same way. Most of the Jewish people who were there, professionals and tailors and carpenters and blacksmiths and things like this, always worked with the Ukrainian people. So each one had some friends, and especially we had a grocery store, and most of the Ukrainian people used to come to shop to us. And they had some kind of feelings, you know, they were so nice people who used to bring us food and give it to us.
Did these other Ukrainians ever try to do anything to stop the brutality of the Ukrainians that were under the German influence?
I don't know if they did it, but if they would want to do it, they had no power.
You claim that you said that there were beatings and punishments every day within the ghetto.
Yes.
Describe how some of these were carried out. Were they done as a public display so that people were watching, were ordered to watch?
No, we didn't have anything public displays. No, we had later on, you know, when they came in and they liquidated ghetto, and about, I would say, 300 to 400 people may have run away in the forest. And then they established like groups, not even from the police, private citizens, and they used to go in the forest and try to catch the Jewish people. When they caught them, they brought them out in the town on the market, and they killed them. One of these was my mother. It was a neighbor of ours. You know, we didn't know. He caught her. We were running away. We were hiding with the whole family. We were running away back and forth. Every night you had to sit in a different place. You couldn't stay in the one place because they spotted you. So this group spotted us, and we started running, and they caught my mother and my sister, and they brought them there. And they killed them right in the market. And the guy who killed my mother and my sister lives in Australia. And we 3 years ago went to trial there. And the Australian government came to us, they found us, because we went there, me and my wife, Ray. We went there, we testified, we were 2 weeks there. 107 people were witnesses, 27 eyewitnesses saw him killing people. And later on, the Australian government, they acquitted him.
Now, you said that they came into the forest and they found you, they took your mother and sister.
Yeah, I didn't see them at the moment taking them because we were running, each one was running in different ways, yes.
So, how did you find out what had happened to them? Were you witness to it, or?
No, and the farmers, you know, we were in touch with the farmers. Every night we used to go to them to get some food, things like this. They give us everything what was going on in town.
Now, to go back for a moment, if we will, you said you remained ghettoized for 6 months.
Right.
Tell me of the day that the ghetto was broken up.
The dates, I don't remember exactly.
Do you remember the day that it happened, where the ghetto was ended and the Germans walked in?
I don't remember the day.
So can you describe anything that happened to me on that day at all?
On the ghetto, on the day?
Yeah, the day that they came in and broke up the ghetto.
Yeah, I explained that we saw at night coming in the German trucks, and so the lights with trucks coming in, and at this time we ran away already. We saw it before we saw the lights, trucks coming in. We took the whole family, everybody who was in our house, ran the forest, because the forest was right like half a block from our house.
You ran into the forest, and how long was it before they came and discovered where you were hiding? How much time had passed before they?
We stayed in the forest 6 months.
Tell me what you first did when you went into the forest. It was in the night, and during the night, obviously, you were hidden by the darkness.
Yes.
What did you do during the day?
We spotted a place where we want to stay. We took branches and make something, because there were swamps, and we just put it there and we fell asleep. One was always up and watching. If he hears something, somebody coming, either hear somebody moving, we woke us up and we went to a different place.
Now, during these first nights in the forest, when you fled from your house, were you able to take anything with you at all?
Oh, we took just some clothes with us, and that's it, nothing else.
How were you able to protect yourselves and get food? Were the farmers helping you too while you were in the forest?
The farmers, we used to go out at night, but we knew the area very well. We used to go out at night and knock on their doors. Some would chase us away. Some would open the door and give us some food, and we used to go back and bring food. And later on,
During the day, though,
During the day, we were staying in one place, we're not moving at all.
I see. Um, were you in contact with any of the other people that had run into the forest with you?
Yes, we were. A little bit later, like maybe 2 months later, we already like kind of organized. Because the German people were not in the area, only the Ukraine people. So we went away like maybe 20 miles from our town. And we dug out like graves, you know, we dug out, and then we put something, a little roof over it. And it was maybe like 50 people there.
Now, during those first 2 months, though, was the procedure that you followed more or less the same every day, where at night you would go out and look for food, and during the day you would just stay quietly in one place?
Right, yes.
Was there ever a time during these first 2 months when the German soldiers came near you in the forest and
No,
you
there were no German soldiers at this time already. The Germans could.
So it was
there was an area, maybe 100 miles, with an area of 100 miles. The radius. The Germans didn't come in at all, and it was run everything by the Ukrainian police.
Did the Ukrainian soldiers come into the forest looking
Oh yeah,
for you?
oh, every day.
And what would happen if they discovered you where you were hiding?
They would kill you right away. You know, they wouldn't take it.
Did they ever come close to the place that you and your family were hiding?
Yeah.
And what did you do when
We heard him coming. We ran from one place to the other and hiding it. That's the way it was going on. But after we organized a little bit, there was one Ukrainian man called him Misura. This was his name.
Could you spell that for me, please?
Misura would be Misura, Misura.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And his best friend was Fyalkov, a Jewish guy. And they start off form the partisans. And we got like a few guns.
How were you able to get these guns?
We you know, sometimes you just can't believe these things, you know.
How did you manage?
We made guns from wood, rifles, like a rifle, looking like a rifle, and pistols, take from shoes and made a piece of wood in it. And we used to come, we knew who has guns. We used to come to the house, and the two people would stay outside in the window, like with his guns, with the wooden guns. Go in the house, and everybody was scared. And we used to take away the guns from the people.
The Ukrainian people?
The Ukrainian people.
Now, how were you able to get the tools to fashion these guns?
Oh, we had everything already, you know. We used to go to farmers. They used to give us knives. They used us chisels. Yes, and they were very, very sympathetic to a lot of things.
To go back, if we may, for a moment. During the 2 months preceding the organization, how the Ukrainian farmers kept helping you with food.
Yes.
Was anybody ever ill during that time in your family while you were hiding in the forest?
I had typhus.
While in those first 2 months?
While I was there, yeah. And the best medicine was they put me on ice. You know, just on ice. Lay on ice. We survived. If we didn't survive, there was
This was the winter time.
Winter time, yeah.
And so how were they able to take care of you? By just keeping you...
keeping there on the ice, and somehow you survive.
Were any other members of your family taken ill during that time?
Most of them, you know, were colds and things, but this was not a problem. You know. You lived with it. This is part of life.
After 2 months, you're organized by this man, Misura.
Yes.
And the first time that you met with Misura,
yeah.
Do you remember the things that you decided that you were going to do? How did he get you to organize?
The meeting, when the first time we met him, he said, "It's enough to hide. We have to fight back." about 10 people, Jewish people, and one, sure I was with them too. And I said, they instructed us what we have to do. We have to go here and get this. And
What did they tell you?
if we have to, anybody knows where whoever has a gun, let us know. We're going to go and get the guns. As far as going out for food, you have to go out and get us leads where you could get food, going this time and this time, and they try to guide us. I was young yet, but they took everybody in, and they had, I think after 2 months, we formed with like maybe 20, 30 people already on their arms. When after this, after I didn't have they didn't give me yet a rifle. The rifles took all the people, and they were. After this, that the Ukraine people found out that it's reorganized. They have an arms, yes. They had a lot of respect for us. We could go out during the day in town, and they wouldn't touch us.
Prior to this organization, do you remember what any of your thoughts or feelings while you were in hiding in the forest before you became a group and it was just your family?
You know what I thought, sir? Sometimes what I was thinking, I heard the farmers, it was in the forest, and I heard the farmers calling in their animals to put in the, I would say to myself, oh God, why was I born a human? I should be born an animal. There's no thoughts. We were like spaced out. We had no vision of life or nothing. We were just, you know, you dehumanize people. You become a nothing, you know. You don't think of anything. You feel so low. But after the partisans were organized.
What were your thoughts then? How did they change?
We became proud of ourselves. Proud of ourselves. We were, this I would say by the end of maybe 5, 6 months, we already had maybe 200 people on their arms. Let's
go back. You first decided you were going to go and get guns from the people that you knew had guns.
Mm-hmm.
You fashioned wooden guns
right.
to stand guard at the houses as you went in. How did the people react when you came in and asked them?
They were scared for us. You know, sometimes stories like this, you can't believe it. I mean, just these things. You know, we were walking at night, 5 people with these wooden guns, and over there, from the other side, 2 guys are walking, and they yelled to us in Russian, "Who are you?" We said to them, "We're not going to tell you in Russian, you know, lay down because we'll shoot you." They say to us they are Russian soldiers lost and they want to find somebody to be connected. So we got together with them. They had 2 machine guns. They looked at us, at the rifles, they looked at us, they couldn't believe it.
And what did they do?
No, they joined us. They became part of us. One married one girl, she's in Israel now, Alex, and the other one, one was Jewish and one was not. And they joined us, and they couldn't believe that we were 5 little boys, you know, young kids.
How old were you at the time?
I was there maybe 14 years old, 15.
And what about the others that were in the group? Were they all
about you?
One
was older, one Shleime was with me. He was maybe 20 already.
And was he more or less the leader of this little group when you went out?
We were listening to him. The older was, we listened to him. But it was, we had to go. We knew the forest so well. That's by tree, we knew how the direction to go. And they were amazed. We brought him in there. We already had this dug the trenches where we were sleeping there. And we took them in there, and it was tremendous help to us.
Now, where was your family at this time?
The family was my mother and sister was killed, and we had...
They had been taken before this?
This was before. And I had my 3 sisters and my father with me.
So it was during that 2-month period when you were first hiding in the forest that your mother and sister were taken?
My mother was killed like 3-4 days after the German came in. This guy caught her, you know, Ivanechko Polikovich. I saw him in Australia. Murder. He killed his wife He left his wife and went to Australia. That's how the Russian found him. His wife came to Australia to testify against him. His sister, his wife.
You were told by the farmers what happened to your mother and your sister. How was your family able to get through this?
Can't describe this. There's no description for it. Just we didn't know what. We cried, we hugged, we kissed, we wailed, and this it. There was no time to cry even.
And it was right after this that the organization really started.
Yeah.
Go back to, you were collecting guns. What was your next task when you got together to have the meetings in the what was the next directive that you got?
When the partisans were organized, we became a force. We, I say we, I was young then, and I was part of it. They gathered all the Jewish people in a camp. All the women and children were next, and they formed where the partisans stayed, everybody knew. There was no more hiding. And
when you say a camp, where was this located?
In the forest. In the forest. There was no buildings, things like this. Just forest and little shacks, whatever it was built. And the people in the area knew that they have to pay taxes to the partisans. They have to supply them with food, with clothes, with everything. And it was already, the Germans didn't come in there because they were scared. There's swamps and everything. But the partisans were organized. They were going to blow up trains and do a lot of damages, breaches. And later on, I would say maybe 8 months later, the Soviet Union knew about us. And there was radio communications. One of these would.
Now, tell me, was this partisan group made up of Jews as well as non-Jews?
Yeah, there were Ukrainian people too.
So you were getting money, supplies, and help from the Ukrainian people?
There was no money.
No money.
Yes, the only thing was they could give us is food, and when we were organized, there was no problem for food and clothes. We had this.
Now tell me of some of the incidents that you as a partisan took place that you were part of.
One incident, my cousin Itzel, he was in charge of the group of blowing up trains, German trains, because German trains were passing by to go to the Soviet Union. They were already in the center. And I all the time asked him, Itzel, take me. Can't. One night, he comes over to me and says, Uncle, are you going with me? No questions, I can ask, where are we going, what are we doing? 6 people, he come over, they loaded me up with explosives and things like this, and he gave me a rifle. And we went there. We were walking maybe, I don't remember exactly, maybe a day or 2 days till we came to the destination, to the railroad. And then he explained to us, this is one of the biggest transport of German soldiers and ammunition is going to the Soviet Union. And we have to blow this up. You know, he set up everything. He knew everything. I handled explosives and everything he set up. And we were waiting, and we saw the train coming. And it was set up, the explosive, like each person, 6 people, you know. And saw the train coming, and the signal came to blow it up. And
Take your time.
And we blew up the train, and there were maybe hundreds or more German soldiers and everything. And I saw them flying in the air, getting killed and other stuff. We did the job and we walked away. We didn't talk to each other
Take your time.
for a while. And then we were walking like maybe 2-3 hours, and then we sat down to eat. And he took me around. He said, "Young Claude, how do you feel?" I said to him, I feel like a mensch now. You know, now I feel like a mensch. You gave me back my dignity. Why am I crying? Because he survived, but he died. He had tuberculosis, he died. Since then, I went with him on a lot of these things, and they were very helpful, these partisans, to do a lot of damage behind the lines for the Germans.
Now you say after this, you then became part of the force that went out.
I was like a second hand, I'm still young.
What were some of the other acts that you were involved in as a partisan?
Mostly I was watching, the camp, which were about 80 people there, women and children. And every day was different, different
Were you
things.
ever involved in any other acts of sabotage?
3 times I went. Yeah.
What was the second one?
Second was a bridge we had to blow up, and then the third time, the Germans decided they used to bomb our area. And the third time they decided they're going to come with tanks and destroy the partisans. We knew this in advance a lot of times, and all the roads where they have to come was mined.
You had mined them.
Yeah, Isel, myself, all this. I didn't know much about it, but digging this, putting the stuff. And it was, I would say, maybe 10 miles was mined, everything. And the Germans started coming. And as they start coming, we start blowing up their tanks. The mines was tearing them up apart. We had very good ammunition sent us from the Soviet Union. They had helicopters landing every time and bringing to us ammunition.
So you were directly receiving munitions from the Soviet
every night just to
Union.
come from the Soviet Union. We were already organized. We were almost maybe close to 1,000 people, blowing up the Germans, and they couldn't. And we blew off most of the tanks who came in was blown up, and they couldn't come to us. This was, yeah.
What other acts were you involved in besides these 3 acts of sabotage?
This one thing was I was involved, which was a very tragedy. The partisan came to, and they said there's a very big. They have to go out. Almost all the people have to go out to fight the Germans, and they left us with the men and women, children and the women, which we are standing there. And there's.
When you say we, who else was left with you?
Maybe 5, 6 more men standing watching this. And there's Bandera. This was the Ukraine partisans, they call themselves. They're murderers. They were attacking the Jewish partisans.
They were attacking the Jewish
each time
partisans.
we were fighting with them, and that was the fight. So when they knew probably all the partisans went to fight the Germans, and they came, and they killed most of the women, men and women. There were only 3 people left: my father, myself, and another little boy. This was my 3 sisters were killed there, and everybody was killed.
How many of the Ukrainians came in to attack the camp?
Well, they came in maybe 200 of them. Yeah. They came on horses, but 3 days later, all the partisans returned, and they knew what this Bandera is celebrating what they did there, and they were stationed in a little village, in barns. They were sleeping there. The partisans went there, They circled him around, they blew up all the mountains were burned. The whole 200 people were burned there.
And Banderas?
Bandera wasn't there. He had places in a few organizations. And since then, there was very little resistance to our partisans, the Jewish partisans, from Bandera.
What was the response of the returning partisans when they found out what happened to their camp?
What could you respond? Each one lost a sister, a brother, a brother, children, mother. They were disappointed. It was a tremendous thing. Each one was blaming themselves. They were tearing the clothes off from themselves. And
how long did it take you to organize after this to go after the Ukrainian partisans?
They were organized. The partisans were organized because this was just destroyed the camp.
No, but I mean to go from the discovery to going after them. Was it
3 days? 3 days. We knew right away where they. We had the farmers, the Ukrainian farmers used to tell us all the information, and we knew we had people going out, checking everything out. We were pretty good organized.
Did your group have a shortwave radio that they used?
We had, yes.
And that was supplied to you by the Russians also?
All the communication was supplied to us. We were in constant, every day in touch with them. And then in 44, the beginning of 44, they sent to us a General Furov, and he took over the partisans. And he was leading us till the day that the Soviet Union came and occupied the territory. And they took us, everybody took us to the army, the Russian army, and I went to that. I was in the Russian army.
So when Furov came in, he organized the partisans to become part of the Soviet army?
No, the army was still away from us, but he flew in, the parachuted to us, and he took over the command and guided what we have to do. No more our people could tell us if we want to go there. We had to prove everything.
He was in charge.
He was in charge of everybody.
What other acts of sabotage or resistance can you recall your group participating in?
The 3 times I went, but this was spread between, maybe 3 months apart, it was not done every day.
Were you aware of other activities that the group was taking part in?
Yes, but I didn't go with them because I was too young yet.
What were some of the other things that you knew of?
Constantly blowing up trains and tanks and bridges, and Russia used to tell us that soldiers, German soldiers coming this and this way, you have to stop them, things like this.
Now, at this point, there's just you and your father.
Yes. My father, he was my father.
What about your cousins and uncles that were there with you too? Were they still with you at this point in time?
There was no uncles. The uncles were killed and only these 2 cousins, Itzel and another one. The other one was killed in a
raid.
fight. Yeah, the partisan. Itzel was left. He's the only one was left.
When this Russian general came in, what were the changes that took place in the partisan group at that time? How did he make changes?
The changes that he made is just got us better organized. We had all the ammunition we needed, and even he brought us some missiles, anti-planes, but it was almost like already an army.
I gather from what you said that you really had enough ammunition because you were constantly supplied by the Russians, so that they kept you pretty well supplied of everything, supplies, ammunition, prior to the general coming.
Yes.
When the general took over and things became tighter in terms of performance, did any people choose to leave at that time?
The partisans?
Mm-hmm.
No.
What were your feelings now about becoming organized into an army under the Russians?
We were very, everybody was proud to be part of it. I mean, you didn't want to run away from the army. You want to be part of the army. You didn't care if you get killed or not, but at least you defend yourself. You're not being killed like an animal.
Now, how long did it take after his arrival until the Russian army actually caught up with you and where you were in the forest?
The Russian army caught up with us in the middle of 44. And most of the young people from the partisans, they took to the army. I was not even 18 then. And they took me to the army. They sent me to Leningrad, St. Petersburg today, Leningrad, and they sent me to school for 1 month. And then they threw me into the front lines to fight the Germans.
Now, prior to the becoming part of the army, on any of these missions or sabotage missions that you took place in, was the devastation so total that there were no German army officers left after, say, the train was blown up, or?
Let me explain it differently. This was hit and run operations. There's not an operation that you stay and fight the German army.
But
we used to attack them, do the job, and just retreat.
My question was leading up to, at any time did the German officers who remained alive try to pursue you into the forest?
The only time what I explained to you before, what they tried is they came in with tanks. Mm-hmm. But they couldn't reach the area where we were because it was an area which swamps and no roads. It was all country roads and no bridges and things like this, which it was easier for us. We knew everything all around the road. It was easier for us to fight them and stop them. But it was, one time what they did is they bombed our camp. They knew where we are now. They found out where, and they sent planes to bomb our camp.
And when did that happen?
This was already pretty close when they were retreating already from the area.
And was this prior to the becoming part of the Russian army?
Yes, prior to it, yeah.
When the camp was bombed, what happened?
They killed some people. Most of them ran away. There were no buildings to destroy. There was everything, trees and hiding, and everything was like this.
How many people were killed in this attack?
I don't know, maybe 15, 20 people or something like this.
Were any of your places where you stored munitions or anything destroyed during that attack?
The ammunition, everything was stored underground, it was in trenches dug out and everything. There's no buildings or something like this. Partisans, we didn't have any building. Maybe one little shack was built for the officer, but everything was slept outside.
So everything was underground, and
no, not everything. The ammunition was under the ground. Yes.
You say that they sent you off to school for 1 month in Leningrad.
Yes.
During that month, what were they teaching you?
They wanted me to be an officer in the army. They interviewed IQ and everything, and then they chose, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 from our partisans, and they sent me to Leningrad, and they taught me, and they put me in Finland. Was the first time I started to fight in the front lines.
In, where did you say?
Finland.
Finland?
Yes.
How old were you at this time?
I was 17 years old.
And when you were sent to Finland, what was your position?
I was already in charge of a group. They trained, I was in charge of like 10 people. But they put us in a battalion. I was the chaplain of a little group. And we went right away to fight the Germans in Finland. The slogan was "Front for Helsinki." And I was in the army till I was fighting till a town called Richtenberg in Germany. I was twice wounded, they sent me back to Russia. I came back. It's a whole story.
Now, when you started to fight in Finland,
Yeah.
what happened while you were fighting in Finland?
Oh, we kept on going. Went from Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Latvia, Ostpreußen, you know.
And
Germany.
what were you encountering along the way? What was the feeling of the people when they saw you coming through these areas?
This was already Russian army. It was not a partisan anymore.
No, but I know it's a
Yeah.
Russian army. And you were going through...
You mean the German people?
Yeah.
German people are running away into Germany.
And what was the reaction of the townspeople as you were coming through?
There was no townspeople. We came in Helsinki. We didn't see one person. Everybody ran out of there.
And what about as you were going through these other areas?
You saw people, you know, moving away, running away. Germans, some of the Russian soldiers were very angry because they lost their families and everything. So they used to not to take prisoners. They used to kill them right away there. Yeah.
So you went from Finland to what country?
Went from Finland, then went to Estonia.
And what did you find when you got to Estonia? What was
Well,
the
it was
condition?
resistance all the time. Germans were fighting them and continue fighting, you know.
And who was giving you your orders to proceed if you were in
The
charge of
Russians.
this group?
It was higher and higher the battalion, you know.
What condition were the people in when you came into Estonia?
Estonia?
Mm-hmm.
We actually only had very little contact with civilian people. They were all hiding, running away, you know. You didn't see too many civilian people. If whatever you saw, you know, everyone was scared. Well, we didn't touch anybody. We didn't.
And what condition was the country itself in at this point, the parts that you went through?
In what way? What do you mean?
Had they been destroyed by bombings?
Oh yeah,
Had they-
every area was bombed, destroyed, buildings fall down, broken, everything was destroyed in areas where we were going.
And from Estonia, where did you go to?
We went from Estonia, went to Latvia.
And what did you find in Latvia?
All the same thing, everything was destruction there, you know.
Were you ever in contact with the people as you were going through, or were they all in hiding as you were going
Some people
through?
came out, welcomed us, you know, they gave us food, things like this. But there's no conversation, you know, asking what do you do, what do you like. What
No,
do you,
of course not.
No.
But in terms of reactions to your coming through.
Yeah, most of them were very happy to see us.
From Latvia, where did you go?
From Latvia, we went to Latvia, and from Latvia we went into Poland.
Now, how long did you spend in each of these
And
countries?
for nothing, we kept on
Kept
on
walking through.
Kept on walking.
Were there many losses? Did you encounter many losses in your
In
group as you were
hundreds
going
and
through?
Hundreds.
So
many
the
people
fighting
killed.
was very intense as
Oh,
you
yeah.
were coming through.
There was no rest. We used to sleep and walk. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
You were sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking, yeah.
Was
Until
there
we-
ever a time when you could stop to rest, even if it was
They
just for a
gave us
little
a couple
while?
hours. The whole on the side of the road, we used to lay down and give us some food. Kitchens used to come up and give us food and everything. But there was no stop. We kept on going all the way.
Did you ever take groups of German prisoners? As you,
This was not my job. If there was a lot of prisoners was taken, there was a special group of people
I see.
which used to behind the lines. You just line them up, thousands of them. We took thousands.
But your job was just to keep
on,
going
you know,
through.
We used to fighting this thing.
How long did it take you to get from Finland to Poland?
We started about 2 months. 2 months, Ostromazowieckie, right near Warsaw.
And what time of year was this? Was this during the winter? Was it during the spring?
Springtime, yeah. This was like, the war ended in May, and this was in Poland. We already war, like I would say, in February.
So you were in Poland in February. That means that while you were still part of the partisans and hiding in the forests, you encountered winter while you were there.
Yeah.
How were you able to take care of yourselves during the extreme cold
You know,
when you were in hiding?
If you ask me if I know how I survived, I don't know. we in the forest we had no food. A lot of times we used to cook grass and things like this and eat and
So
was-
that there were periods of time when the farmers were not able to get foods to you when
yes.
you were in the
Yeah,
forest.
this is the beginning of the moment the partisans were organized. We had no problem with food.
Right.
Yeah, we were.
It was prior to that.
Yeah, we had no restaurants, but we had.
But
If we had bread and potatoes was.
how were you able to protect yourselves against the extreme cold that you were encountering?
In the winter, what we did, I explained to you, we dug trenches, and we covered with branches of trees and grass and stuff like this, and we had put a little fire on, sit by the fire. Your front was hot and your back was cold, but we survived. No, I don't know how we survived.
You say you cooked grass. How often did it happen that you did not have food?
From the beginning on, we did it every day.
Until the partisans were
till we start
organized.
organizing. Yeah.
So it was about 2 or 3 months.
Through about 2-3 months, we ate whatever we could find in the forest. At night, I was blind. I couldn't see. At night, I was completely blind for about a month. Vitamin deficiency, I couldn't see at night.
What about during the daytime?
During the day, I saw not well, but a little better.
And how did you manage during this period of time when you were unable to see because of the deficiency in your system?
I had, we always were 3, 4, 5 people. My father was with me and friends and somehow we managed.
What about the other members in your family for those first 2 or 3 months? Did the lack of
my
food affect
mother
them?
and my mother and my one of the sisters was killed right away, and they
Right.
had 3 sisters with me.
And how did they survive during this period?
Same
of
way,
time?
each one tried to help each other and do his best thing. And
Did they have any physical reaction as you did to the lack of food?
you were weak all along. There's no question about it. Some of them hardly could walk. We helped each other, and I don't know. I think maybe God was with us,
And
want
the
us to
partisans
survive.
were formed. Let us go back to where we left off. You said that after 2 or 3 months you reached the Polish border.
Right.
What happened when you reached the Polish border?
Oh, over there, the Poles welcomed the Russian. They were happy. The Russian. Everybody was happy to chase out Germany. But in the same token, we had very little connection with civilians. We kept on going to fight. An army stationed here.
Where did you enter Poland?
Where?
What area of Poland did you enter when you came down?
We went to Danzig, Ostpreußen. You know where it is?
Tell me where it is, please.
It is, the part which Poland took away now from the Germans. It's called Ostpreußen in German. Danzig, there was a port. That's where the area we came in. Yeah.
And again, were you ever greeted by the townspeople as you came in?
No.
What sort of devastation did you encounter as you came through Danzig?
Poland was very, very destroyed a lot through towns. Some of the people, you couldn't find nobody there. And
Where did you go? How long did you remain in the Danzig area?
in one area,
Did you just keep marching through?
keep on
even-
marching. I was in the front lines, we were at the front lines attacking it. And the front line doesn't do anything. They just keep on going, If you chase the Germans, you keep on following and follow without not stop. There were other people behind the lines which was organizing the towns already.
So you were encountering most of the fighting
Oh,
then,
yeah.
your
Oh,
group.
yeah.
How did you manage during this period
I
of
don't
time
know.
to hold yourself together?
I don't know. We were laying in Estonia. It was in Estonia where a lot of from our battalion were killed. Very few people left. And they sent the young kids, maybe 18, 20, to replacing the one who were killed. And we saw these kids coming. We felt so bad. I was a grown up. I was 18 years old. And they were starting to bomb, you know, the artillery, German artillery was shelling on us, and they always used to say if the shell fell here, they're not going to fall, they go on further. So there was a big trench, where we all lay down and descending from the young kids, that maybe 40 of them. But the Germans spotted us, and they killed most of the people who just sent us. The 40 people were killed. Me, 4 people of us, we walked out. I was all in blood. I didn't know if I'm hurt or not. We just walked out and looked and touched and this and this. And God was with us.
How did you manage to escape?
From where?
From the Germans.
From the Russians?
From the killing.
Oh, we just walked out, and there was a lot of reorganizing. The leaders come in, they reorganize, and you keep on going again.
But you were in the trenches with these people.
Yeah, these people, if somebody's killed, is killed. You walk away.
I know, but was it just that you were not one of the people that was shot, and you were lying there, and everyone was being shot around you?
After the artillery bombardment of the artillery stopped, or the commanders came and they get you together and they organize. We had 300 people, we have 200 people. The 200 people keep on fighting. That's why it goes.
How often did you have close calls of this sort?
Every day. Every day. I remember the first time when I went in fighting, and they brought me in landing by Finland, and they gave me a rifle and they start screaming, you know, front. I walked in there. I just right away became no human. Nothing. You became wild. You don't know what's going on. You know, airplanes up, dropping bombs, artillery shooting. This is running. This is killed, and that. But you keep on fighting, keep on going, and that's it. War is a terrible thing. Terrible thing.
Any other very close calls like this one that you encountered where all around you were being shot and killed and you were able to survive?
There's a lot of them, but not exactly like this here.
Tell me of them.
Oh, I don't know if I remember this. A lot, and you're constantly in the fight. You know.
So it was a day-to-day?
Oh, minute to minute. It was not day to day. Every minute you're online, your life is online.
Was there ever a moment during this time, or were you just propelled forward, that you stopped to think of what was going on around you?
You didn't have the time to do this. You kept on going. Like I said, when we went into Germany already, in Stettin, it's by a river, you know. We had to cross the river, you know. And made bridges. They were army bridges, and keep on crossing them. And there was very little resistance from the German army then. As we kept on going into Germany, we had less and less resistance because they were retreating constantly. But this time, when we came over there, and we start crossing the river, they spotted us and they wiped out half of us. But we crossed the river, lost a lot of people. And
let's go back, before you go any further forward, let's go back and trace your route through Poland. You entered Poland, you said, in what city?
Poland? Mm-hmm. Oh, we not entered. The Poland we entered from Latvia, you know.
Latvia. Right.
Right, that would be Vilna. Down
right.
Vilna over there. That's where we entered.
And where did you go from there?
We kept on going till, and with following the route to Warsaw. And that's where we kept on going to Warsaw. Over there I said Ostromierzewski. I was wounded. And then they sent me back to Russia. And rejoined the army in entering Germany from Poland.
See. So you were with the army until what point in Poland?
In Poland, till they came into Germany.
You were wounded in Poland?
Yeah.
And where in Poland were you wounded?
Ostromazowiecki, it's right, not far from Warsaw. It's
Where
right-
did you sustain wounds? In what part of your body?
My arm here. Yeah. They sent me to Russia in the hospital. I stayed there maybe a month.
And then you returned to your same unit
No.
of people?
Different unit.
So you were, when you left and went back, you were sent to what part of Russia to recover? Where was the hospital?
It's, I forgot the town. It's deep in Russia. It's Mordovskaya Republic called. Mordovskaya Republic. That's the republic in.
Now, did you receive treatment at all right at the front?
Yeah, they had hospitals in right. Hospitals were right stationed right on the front. Moving hospitals. They were there, yeah.
So you were sent back at this point, hospitalized for a month, and then you were shipped to where from there?
I was shipped almost in Germany already.
With
Yeah.
a different unit of...
Yeah, they assigned you to a different unit.
And was this unit still in the front fighting when
Yes,
you
yes,
joined it?
yes.
Where were they when you joined them?
I told you in Osprey.
Osperson.
Yeah.
And how long did you remain in the Osperson area?
We didn't stay nothing, just kept on moving.
And where did you go from Osperson?
We went on to Germany, and when I told you about crossing the river in Stettin.
And the river is called Stettin?
No, Stettin is the town.
Town,
I don't
and
remember the river, what was there. And I was lucky, after we passed Stettin, and we came into a town called Richtenberg. And as the Russian army took it over our town, they made a commandantur. It's a commandant of the city, like a mayor of the city. And they used to choose each time 30, 40 people, 50 people to be in this administration. And they put up maybe 200 people, and they went each one a question, and they came to me. They asked me questions, and they said, "You stay here." So that's where I finished fighting. And they went on. It was 200 miles from Berlin.
How did you feel when they stopped you there?
Oh, said, "Thanks God."
Where was your father at this time?
I didn't know. When they took me to the army, I lost contact with my father. My father was left in a little town. It's a town in Poland called Ochwalówki, Lutsk, Ochwalówki. He was left there. And I didn't know anything about my father. After I was stationed in this commandantur, where I was stationed for about maybe 6 months, 8 months. The war was over already. The war was finished in May.
Let's not jump ahead. You were kept in this town. What were you doing once they decided you were going to stay there?
Oh, we were supplying. First, we governed the town. We took taxes from the town. We supplied food for the Russian army. Every day was different things which we had to do. I was in charge of breweries. There was 4 breweries there. And I was in charge of these breweries. And I used, manage them, and everything had to sign by me to give out. And all the liquor and everything was sent to the Russian people, the Russian armies, the Russian. So this was my job. And I was, for a short time, I was an interpreter from German to Russian.
Now, what was the reaction of the townspeople towards you when you came in?
It was like a numb reaction. Like they knew I'm a Jude. I used to tell them right away, I'm Jude. And the Russian army they did wonders there for the Russian. You know what? Zhukov, General Zhukov was in charge of the Russian army. And they issued a law this is already after the war, behind towns, that every German they have to confiscate by German everything. All ammunitions, all radios, photos, everything we had to have a group We used to go every day and check the homes. But with this was another order that you must arrest the man of the house. How do you arrest him? You come over to ask for a gun. You don't have a gun. So they used to throw a gun and find a gun. And we used to send hundreds of people, Germans, to Russia to work there.
This was after the war
After
was
the
over
war,
there.
yeah.
But you were in this town prior to the war ending, where you
Yes.
left. How long was it after you got to this town until the war ended?
2 months,
During that 2-month period,
yes.
what was the life in the town like? What were you doing?
The life, which way do you mean life?
Both for the Germans and you as the
For us-
invading force.
For us, was a good life. We were, we were the conquerors. We were.
And what about the German people?
The German people, they were treated right by the Russians. They were treated right. They didn't. If they found out there was a Soviet jail called this, like the CIC, or the intelligence unit, and they were checking everything out and finding out if there were any SS or any Nazis or things like this. They would arrest them and take them send them to Russia.
But other than that, the Russian army treated the townspeople well.
Yes, yes. They didn't do any harm to them or something.
Now, the war, when the war was declared over, how did you hear about it, and what was the reaction of the...
We had the same moment we had, it was right away on the loudspeakers that the war is over, and then the German signed capitulation, and it was dancing and screaming and yelling and drinking.
Tell me about it in
It was,
detail.
it was wild, it was wild, the Russian, like, whiskey, vodka and everything, and the mayor, his name was Yakunin, of the city, he called me up, said, Yasha, my name Yasha was in Russian. Yasha, open up the breweries, let everybody go and drink and everything, and it was a wild life. Yeah.
And what about the Germans? What was their reaction?
I don't know, not every German was a Nazi. And I felt that the German who did not be Nazis, they felt relieved to a certain degree it's over. Yeah. I used to speak with a lot of them after the war.
And what did they say?
A lot of them say they never knew what's going on, and I don't believe it. Because in the town when I was stationed already, we used to come in, I used to find pictures. SS, like killing Jewish people or cutting off a beard or doing like this. They had it in their home.
So they kept it as souvenirs.
They had kept a souvenir, but this house was right away destroyed. It took out all the men. The Russian arrested them.
How long did this celebration, victory celebration, continue?
Oh, I don't know. For a couple of days.
And then
Every Russian was affected. So many Russian people killed millions of Russians, and used to get letters. My mother, the father, the sister was killed. This was killed. It was a celebration with tears.
how long did you remain in this town after the war had ended?
I was there till the end of '46. I was stationed there. I didn't know much was going on with the survivors and things like this. But one day, this was in the beginning of '46, I was going in town, and a friend of mine was standing near Studebaker trucks, maybe 10 trucks standing, and he's talking to them. So I walked over to him and said, "Who are these people?" He said, "I don't know who they are. They say they are Greeks and this like this." I looked at the people, I saw Jewish people right away. I walked over to them, and I started talking to them in Yiddish. And I tell them tell me what's going on. You know, I'm telling them I was a Russian officer in the uniform, and they were afraid for me. And this soldier would stop them, would take them into the commandantur, you know, for checking them out. I said to them, if you tell me what's going on, I could help you. So he took me in a truck, and then one of the leaders started talking to me Yiddish, took out a knife. He says to me, if you are fake, we're going to kill you right here. I said, I'm not a fake. Tell me what it is. So he told me there's kibbutzim in Stettin, and there's a DP camps from all the survivors in Berlin, and this and this, and told me I can't idea what's going on. So, and he told me all the stories. So I gave him my address, my telephone number, and everything, and I moved the 10 trucks through the Württemberg, and they went down to Berlin. And
other than this, did they tell you anything about what had happened to them while they were?
Oh, they were. It's after the war. They started to organize kibbutzim, which would go to Israel.
I realize that. But did any of them speak to you about their experiences during the war?
No, we didn't.
How did they look to you? What condition were they
They were
in?
not bad looking already, because it was a year after the war, and they were all right. They were eager to go to Israel. They said they're going to Berlin. From Berlin, they're going to be transferred to Italy, and they'll go to Israel.
Now, during the time that you were working your way from Finland all the way down into Poland, did you encounter or hear about any of these camps as you were going?
Which
The concentration or work camps? Did you?
No.
You knew nothing about
we
them?
We were in not part of Poland, which is a concentration camp. So that we knew what's going on. That they killed the Jewish people, knew all this stuff, but we never came through to a concentration camp.
Now, how long after the war ended did you remain in Germany?
Till I was in the army till the end of '46.
And were you then discharged from the army?
No, they found out that later on, whenever more trucks used to come through town, I used to pass them. The Russian army found out this, I mean, the leaders. And they found out. And there's Kapitan Yakunin, this guy who was in charge there. I was like a son to him. He used to call me Sinok. And I did a lot of good things with him. I brought his wife from Russia, and I set up an apartment. And I could do a lot of things.
How did you manage that?
Well, I had this brewery. This business was, you could do anything you want with it. He calls me into his apartment, and he sits me down, and he starts crying. I said, why are you crying? He said, I'm losing you. I said, why? Why are you losing me? He said, I know everything what you did with the trucks. He said, in my eyes, you didn't do nothing wrong. But in the eyes of the Russian government, you're a traitor. And they're going to arrest you. And they send you to Russia for trial. But I don't want you to do this. And he said, and he knew about the Capitan Bass, the American captain in the DP camp. He knew everything, this Yakunin. He said, give me a valise. In the valise, I had a paper that I could go all the time to Berlin on business. I used to go from the government. He said, you have this paper. You know how to go to Berlin? I said, yes. You go to Berlin, open up this, there's money in the valise, there's vodka, salami, food. And else. He said, you go to the train in Berlin station and get me a raincoat and put on a raincoat with me. He cried so badly. And I didn't know what's going on. I said, go, because tomorrow you'll be arrested. And go, don't wait, go right to the train. tickets and everything. I come to the train. He said, when you're going to get off the train, there's a man going to stay with the same trench coat like you. You walk over to him, say nothing, he'll pick you up and he'll bring you to your captain bus to the beacon. And that's what happened. I came over
He
there.
arranged that for you.
Yeah.
Now you say you allowed these trucks through.
Yeah, it's like,
Why would they have been stopped?
because when you come into town, there's the Russian army has guards, you know, whatever goes through town, they would stop them. And I knew everybody downtown from the commandantura. So I explained to them, these are people who are going to this and this, they let them through. So they let them through.
But if they had stopped them, what would have happened to them? If it
They
had
probably would have bring to the, a whole, I really don't know what would happen to them. But it would be already, they would stop, they would not let him pass anymore. Maybe this time they would let him go. Because they didn't do anything against the Russian government.
Where were these trucks coming from?
There was kibbutzim in Stettin.
And they were all from
all
the
going to
kibbutz?
Berlin.
I see.
Yeah.
So what did you do once he made all these arrangements for you? Did you go through with the arrangements?
To go to Berlin, yes. That's what I
And did everything happen as he said it would?
Exactly. The only thing that happened over there when I came to the DP camp, the American CIC started interrogating me. And they thought I know anything. I didn't know anything about Russian armies and things like this. And I was a spy, I was nothing. And they kept me going for maybe 5 days.
Now, what was the feeling of the Americans towards the Russians at this time?
I didn't feel good about it. They were treating me very bad. So I came to this captain bus and I told them, look, that's what's going on. I just can't go through this anymore because I can't give them no information. I don't have it, what they want.
How many days did they keep you?
5 days.
5 days.
Every
What
day.
type of things were they asking you?
Asking me if I know these generals, if I know this army, if I know the Russian secrets, if I know this. I was not involved in these things. I told them exactly what I am. And they didn't believe me at the moment. So this Captain Bass came over and he stopped them. He said, I know this man, I watched for him, he took me out from there. And then I left Berlin and I went to West Germany, to Munich.
Were you at all confused in terms of the fact that the Americans and the Russians were allies as
Yes.
to why they were interrogating you in this
No,
way?
I was not confused. I understood this because I worked in the intelligence service in the army. I knew the job that they have. I knew, but you know, you interrogate somebody, you could see right away if he's guilty or not. And I was innocent. I didn't know nothing about what they want from me. But they kept on going, figuring maybe they'll find something. I mean,
At the end of the 5 days, what happened to you then?
this was Berlin, and West Germany was split between Berlin and he took a jeep and they put me in American soldier's uniform and they brought me to Germany. And I came into a DP camp called New Freiman in Munich.
You were in Germany. They took you from...
You know, between the East Germany and West Germany. Yeah, they brought me there.
And the way they did that was to put you in,
Just I shouldn't
American
go through
Europe.
with visa and things like this. And this was approved by the American army that I could do this. They used to do these things, bringing people from the Russian army to the other side.
Once you were back, you were in the American sector. What happened then?
I was. They joined me in this DP camp. And then the story I told you about the age.
Tell me about it.
You know, when you know, when the German came into us, they registered all the Jewish people. And this German who registered me, I still see him right now. And when I came in the DP camp and they started registering me, I just forgot. I just blanked out and they asked me, how old are you? I just grabbed a number from there and that's why the age is different.
So what would your real age have been?
I would be in 1925, December 18, 1925.
So there's a 3-year
2.5 years
differential in your
difference.
age.
2.5 years, yeah. This was not, I couldn't, change it because it would do a lot of things. So now I have 2 birthdays.
Now, after you were enrolled in the DP camp,
Yes.
what happened then?
There was a story before I didn't tell you. I was going from Germany to Russia on vacation.
When did this take place?
This took place in middle of 46.
So it was before.
And this was I was already stationed in the commandantur. You know, I was in charge. And I was on the train. I didn't know what's going on. I hear a sound. Somebody is speaking, and I know the man. I walk over to the man and I say, Janko, his name is Janko Dochwalowka. And I say, Janko. He looks and he said, you'll be Janko Meshans. He said to me, Znat тебя не знаю. I don't know you. You have made a mistake. I said, yes, I have no mistake. It's you. You used to come to our store shopping. I know you. He said, no. So I wrote a little letter that said I'm in the Russian army. And this and this and this, and I wrote and I gave it to him. If you know something, let me know. About a month later, I got a letter not from him, but from a Hashki. She wrote me a letter. This was Yanko. He was escaping from the Russian armies and was afraid to talk to you.
Who was the person that wrote you the letter?
She was like a distant cousin. She's still alive. And she wrote me a letter and said, my father is alive. She saw him in Bytom in Poland. And she thinks that he's in Italy.
How did you feel when you received this letter?
Unbelievable feelings. I have somebody. So I started writing letters to the Italian consulate and the Italian government, and I said, finally, about a month later, they told me he's alive and he lives in a town called Gruglasco in Italy, in a DP camp. I wrote him a letter, he wrote me back a letter, and I went to the consulate, told my father's there, I'd like to go to Italy. He said, no way. So I went to the Israeli Brucha. There was the Israeli Brucha, and I told him the story. And they were taking from Germany people, bringing to Italy, illegal, walking. So I still have pictures home, I didn't take them. And I went to them, he said, okay, we'll take it to your father. Everything is illegal, you know. So, but you have to go twice with us. One time you have to help. You know, we used to take a rope and pull all the people over the mountains. So I went once and came back with him, walked. And the second time I went, and he left me in Italy, and I went got my way to Glasgow, and I met my father.
Now, when you say you used to take people over the mountains on the rope,
You know,
describe this to me more fully.
you used to take a rope, and if a stronger man was the leader, and the other one was holding onto the rope, 5, 6 people, and used to walk, and try to help them over the mountains. I got pictures of the way we did it.
Now, did you do this during the night where you would not be discovered?
Nobody stopped us. You were going through the mountains, and nobody.
How long did it take you to go through the mountains?
It was 3 weeks. This is the Alps. We used to go across the Alps.
And how did you have provisions with you to keep you going during that time?
Yeah, we have guidance from Israeli soldiers, Israeli army.
And did they have places for you to stay as you were going?
No,
or did you just stop?
There was areas, you know, which were rest areas. So we would stop there. We were not afraid that they're going to stop us, because the Italian government knew about it, and they did not stop us.
So there was no danger at all. It was just a matter of getting the paper.
Right.
And it would take you 3 weeks to make each one of these trips. Right. Now, you would get there. Did you go back the same way that you came over the Alps?
No, when the people who were the leaders, they used to take them with trucks, bring them back to Italy. It was
I see.
When the other ones, We used to go from Germany. Used to pull out 5-6 strokes to Bad Reichenhall, called. It's Austria already, right to the Alps, and they would let the people out.
And this all happened during the period of time between your being in the DP, in the
No.
American sector of Berlin, and...
Yes, I was in New Freiman.
All right.
In New
Tell
Freiman.
me about your meeting with your father.
Oh. When I got to Italy, I couldn't speak Italian. And I started asking, how do I get to Glasgow? One Italian guy says to me, he didn't understand me. He said, you speak German? I said, yes. And he spoke a little German. And he took me to the train, and he brought me to Glasgow. He was passing by there. He gave me some money, and he gave me his address too. And I wrote him later, and sorry. But he brought me to the camp.
What did you find when you got to the camp?
It was strange. My father was married already. But he was married to a wonderful woman I knew her from Krinick. And for a while, you know, I couldn't get used to it, but she was so nice to me. She was Chai Hindi. She was wonderful. And we became very friends, and she treated me better than a son. And I get used to it, and I stayed with them in the room. They had a room there.
What was it like when you first saw your father?
I don't know, it was a strange situation at all, you know. Here you come, you see your father married. And
now, what had happened to your father from the last time you had seen him until now? What was his experience? Did he remain in hiding in the woods, or what?
no, when my father he was with me. The last time I left him was in Chvalovkim, and the Russian took me in the army. And he stayed there, you know. He worked in a bakery. It's a whole story, but we're not going to.
No.
But he worked in a bakery there. But later, you know, I was in the army, continued going there, and he was. Most of the people from the partisans start to go. They wanted to immigrate to America, to Israel, so they kept on going through Poland till they come to. There's a town called Biton. You know, there they already met the Israeli Bricha, and they all start organizing them to take them to Israel.
How long did you remain with your father?
I remained with my father till we came to America.
At this camp?
I remained in this camp 47. I met him, and we stayed there 3 years there. In 1950, went to America.
I see. Now, when did this experience where you went from the Russian zone of Berlin into the American zone of Berlin happen? In what year?
The end of 46.
So that happened prior to your discovering your father, then?
Yes. The man what I met on the train was while I was in the Russian army.
Now, you remained at the area where this camp was, which was, once again, where was this camp that your father was in located?
In Italy, in Glasgow.
In Glasgow. And you remained there for 3 years. And how were you able to make arrangements to come to the United States?
The United Jewish Appeal, UGA, my father did all the work. I didn't even, you know, he made up all the applications for me. He did, see, we're going to America. My father had 2 sisters and 2 brothers here.
And they were still alive?
Yeah, they were in America, yeah.
Jack,
And
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you to end tape 1. This is Bernice Weiner ending tape 1 of her interview with Jack Krinick. We will continue on tape 2. This is Bernice Weiner beginning tape 2 of her interview with Jack Krinick. Jack, when we stopped and ended on tape 1, we left you having spent 3 years with your father in Italy and making preparations to come to the United States through the UJA. During those 3 years that you were in Italy, what did you do?
The first thing when I met my father, a couple of days later, I said, you have to go to school. So I went to school. There was a school from ORT, an American organization, ORT, and I went there and I started learning the the Italian language, and I was taking up a trade to make sweaters, needed sweaters, and I was 6 months there, and I learned the trade and everything, how to make the sweaters, and later on, I started going out on the markets. You know, they have markets there. I used to buy clothes. American people used to send clothes to the camp. I used to buy them off and resell them. This was like 6 months I did. And then a guy, Italian guy, spotted me there. And I spoke very well in Italian already. Perfect, very good, you know, with emotions and everything. He says to me, I want you to come to me, work for me. I said, what do you got? He said, he's got a dry goods store. So, okay, I said, I'll go. I went in there, I started working there for a while. I worked maybe 6, 8 months. And he sent me to shop in Barry. The town was Trani, and Barry was the town where I went to shop. And I came and I shopped some store there for the dry goods store. And started talking to the guy. He said, if I get a little more merchandise from you, would you give me a discount? Anyway, I talked to him and he gave me a 15% discount. And I come to this guy, to the owner from the store, and I tell him I went there and I got a discount. I bought a lot of stuff. Guy got so angry. He said, he's going to Barry, he's going to kill this guy. He said, I deal with him all my life. He didn't want to give me a discount. The reason I'm telling you, because it's not bragging about it, but we got so close together, and I worked for him 6 months. He said, I want you to be my partner to the profits. You know, so I became his partner, and I ran the store for about almost more than a year with him. And I was very, very comfortable. I had a good life over there. I had my own cabin on the beach, and in Italy they closed the store for 4 hours from 12 to 4. I enjoyed a little life. This is the first time I enjoyed a little life in Italy.
What was your father doing during this time?
My father was in running the kitchen for the DP camp.
What was life like at the camp when you lived there?
Camp was okay. It was much better than before. They had food, you had clothes, you know, and a lot of people wanted to work. You could go out in town and work and do whatever. It was a transition place, but you knew that you already were thinking about a future. Your mind from the past, your mind cleared, and you saw there's a life ahead. And we were thinking about a future, about America, planning and things like this. So,
did you and your father ever talk about the experiences that you each had during the years you were separated?
Very little. Very little.
When did you decide that you wanted to emigrate to the